Year: 1979. Season: fall month, November. State: Indiana. County: Monroe County. Nearest town: Harrodsburg. Nearest road: Popcorn Road. Observed: after caving in a local pit off of Popcorn Road in Monroe County, I decided to wait on the surface while my two fellow cavers did the next pit. I was sitting in the back of my Jeep reading. I saw a silhouette moving south just within the tree line. Thinking this was the landowner, I got of my Jeep and walked up to the tree line. The Jeep was parked in a small grassy clearing used for camping, and the two pits were approx 50 feet east of the Jeep, with the fence and tree line 10 to 20 feet beyond the pits. The trees were bare of cover and it was a bit overcast. I waited at the fence line and I kept an eye on the silhouette moving towards me. I called out once, twice with no reply. The thickness and number of trees and the overcast made it hard to see details of the silhouette. The silhouette moved past me and the only noise I heard was the slight crunching of leaves on the ground. Still not able to make out more than a silhouette, and thinking this was the landowner or local, I called out again and waved at the silhouette. It was now approximately 50 to 60 from me. A bit confused and thinking that the silhouette did not hear me nor saw me, I moved down the fence line to a small opening cut in the tress for a power line. I stood at the fence waiting, and the silhouette moved into the opening. I called out again and froze. The silhouette also froze and turned its head towards me. We stared at each other for 10 seconds or so. No other interaction took place. I then was able to view the silhouette and make out some detail. The silhouette stood approx 6 to 7 foot tall, was covered in long dark brown fur, hair, and stood on two legs with a bit of a bend forward. After the brief stare, the witness turned its head back and continued to walk back into the trees, and I returned to my Jeep. Officially, I cannot say for sure it was a Bigfoot, only that it was walking upright on two legs, had two arms, a chest, and torso, and was covered in long dark brown fur, hair. Also noticed, birds calling out, no other sounds or smells. Other witnesses, none other stories. Later years southeast of Lake Monroe. South of my sighting. Time and conditions: mid-morning, early afternoon environment. Wooden area with small clearings. Hilly. Farmland. Follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Caroline Curtis. The witness and I have discussed this incident on the phone a few times, and I found him to be very credible. Thinking he was seeing the property owner or a person that didn't see or hear him, he moved to a position where he would see the person eventually come out of the woods. When it came out of the trees into the clearing, he was able to see that it was not a person. He was close enough to know they were making eye contact, but because of the overcast day and shadows, he was not able to see additional detail of the face. He did not feel threatened, and he did not get the sense that the creature was too concerned about him. His friends were still in the pit. Still working for an organization that maps caves and their entrances, they have documented a total of 3,434 caves in the state of Indiana. The difference between a pit and a cave is a pit is vertical and a cave is horizontal. The location was next to Clear Creek and only about 5 miles from Lake Monroe, actually an artificial reservoir. The lake is the largest in Indiana with 10,750 acres, including 3 recreational areas: Fairfax, Hardin Ridge and Paintown. Indiana's only federally protected U.S. wilderness area, the 13,000-acre Charles C. Dean Wilderness Area, is located on the South Shore.
Year: 1982. Season: spring month, May. State: Indiana. County: Monroe County. Location details: Steinsville. Go north on gravel road to 3/4 of a mile where old road bridge used to be. Turn right through dirt in field, go as far as you can, then walk another mile or so. Nearest town: Gosport. Nearest road: Moon Road. Observed: back in 1982, a friend, his brother and I was fishing along the White River about 4 miles north of Steinsville. We had been there many times before. That day I happened to mention that there were no birds singing or had noticed any game there. After a few minutes my buddy said that he hasn't seen any either. He did say he had a feeling of being watched, and his brother had said the same thing. After a while of looking around while we fished, I looked up on this tall ridge behind us, about 50 to 75 yards behind us. I thought I saw someone watching us. I pointed it to my buddies, and they saw it too. I have lived in the country all my life, hunted day and night. Still, I never felt this way before. We watched each other for a long time. It was moving so carefully, trying to get a better look. After 45 minutes or so, we thought it best we leave, so we started back to my truck, and it followed us from a distance, never getting out in the open but not really trying to hide that well either. We also noticed a faint smell of something dead, or so we thought. We made it to my truck and didn't take too much time loading it. After all, we walked about a mile and was ready to leave. We still tell this story today and not sure what it was, but Bigfoot has been mentioned, not disputed by my buddies or I also noticed. I have been back many times later and haven't noticed anything like that again. Other witnesses. 3. We were fishing. Other stories. When I was in school, the kids that lived in the area once in a while would tell of something strange, like strange noises, thought they saw monsters, things like that, but not often. But I heard more stories from the Lake Monroe area than where we were. Time and conditions. Around mid-afternoon, bright clear day environment. Hilly, no houses to bother you, along the riverside, very wooded and lonely place, not well traveled on foot or ride.
Year, 1988 season, winter month, November state, Indiana County, Monroe County. Location details. Hindustan is the nearest village, only a few homes and small church, perhaps 3 to 4 miles away on Old 37. The town of Martinsville is about 5 miles to the north and the town of Bloomington is about 15 miles to the south. This incident took place in the Morgan-Monroe State Forest on the main forest road about 1 or 1.5 miles east of the forest entrance that is off of the state road Old 37. Nearest town, Hindustan. Nearest road, main forest road. Observed. This took place while on the last day of firearm deer season in November 1988. It was after sunset but not yet dark. The temperature was in the mid-30s but the ground wasn't frozen and there were still patches of snow on the ground in places. I came out of the woods, put my shotgun, heavy winter coat, and day pack in the trunk of my car and got inside my car to start it up when a movement to my left caught my eye. I will tell you what I saw and what I thought as I was seeing this happen. This man, Bigfoot, came out of thick brush between the trees to my left on the opposite side of the road from where I was parked, maybe 35 or 40 yards down the road at an angle, but it had to know that I was there, or at least that my car was there. When I first saw this thing coming out of the thick brush, the first thing I thought was, where in the heck did he come from? Then, I thought, stupid guy, no hunter orange, and then I began to notice strange things like he had no gun, and that he was the same color from head to toe, no hat, no hunter orange? But then what I really noticed was that his arms were long, his hands were swinging at his knees, and though he was taking large steps crossing the road very quickly but without running, he was just walking. His arms were swinging wide like a British soldier marching, but he didn't seem to be in any hurry, and he completely ignored me like I wasn't there, but he had to know that I was there. He did not look over and kept his head looking straight ahead. He went into the woods on my side of the road, side I was parked on, and went down the hill and disappeared. My eyes told me that I just saw a Bigfoot, but my brain and common sense was trying to dispute that. His color was dark brown, and I thought, could that have been a man in a one-piece Carhartt outfit, or if he were a hiker lost, wouldn't he just have stayed on the road rather than go down the steep hill when it was almost dark, or if lost, why didn't he ask me for help? He was about 6 feet tall but very husky with his hands. Body, feet, side of his head, face, all one color. I actually couldn't see fur because the light was dim. I could see the trees and tree trunks fine, but not the bark because the tree trunks were silhouetted, and that's what I mean about not seeing the fur. It was all one shade of dark brown. Now, all of this that I just told you took place in a minute or less. Soon as it disappeared over the side of the hill, I jumped out of my car, opened the trunk and loaded my shotgun, for self-defense only, put on my winter coat, and got my flashlight out of my day pack and walked to where I thought the thing went over the hill. I wanted to check out what I just saw and was hoping to find a footprint in the ground or on a patch of snow, and I went slowly back and forth, traversing this rather steep hill, going a little deeper down as I moved back and forth. There was a deep light gorge on the right side of the hill, and I looked up towards the road, and by now the ridge on top was just a slither of grey, and looking over my shoulder I realized this was not too smart. It was pitch black below me, and I got a little scared and hiked back up to the road and to my car as fast as I could. I placed my shotgun back in the case along with my heavy coat, putting them in the truck, and then I drove up and down the main forest road to see if there were any cars parked off on the sides or if there were anyone walking. I saw nothing. I drove to the valley road where I thought this thing would eventually come out at the bottom of the hill into farm fields, and I drove back to the end of this valley and back hoping to see something but saw nothing. I have been wanting to make a report of what I saw and have told my wife, children, teenage granddaughters, brother, and 2 close hunting buddies, but have always been hesitant to make a report. The truth is, though I am sure what I saw wasn't a man, I can't prove it wasn't a man dressed up in a suit, but who would be that stupid, especially during hunting season? I can't say positively that it was a Bigfoot, but that is what my eyes saw. Logic says, no. My eyes say, yes, and that's my report, the best that I can remember it. I am glad to get this off my chest. If this helps in any way, then that's great, but please use only my first name if this is posted. I am not seeking notoriety here, thanks. Sincerely, name removed. Also noticed, I came back the very next day to see if I could find footprints in the soft ground, from snowmelt, or on remaining patches of snow, but saw absolutely nothing, and as large as this creature was, I was hoping to see, in the daylight, at least something, but saw nothing. Other witnesses. I was alone, no other witnesses. Other stories. Only the 2 sisters report, BFRO number 354 that I read on this site, only their location is about 5 miles away from my sighting near Lake Lemon, and their description of size and color of fur did not match what I saw. However, I have heard about reports of sightings and was told that a team of students and professors from U actively checked several reports of sightings on Hickory Ridge in Hoosier National Forest south of Monroe Reservoir, which is probably 25 miles south of my sighting. These reports were back in the early 1980s if I remember correctly, and there were a rash of sightings during that time, including at Williams Dam area, which I checked out myself, but that's another story. Time and conditions. Evening at dusk, and the light was dim but not dark, but trees were more silhouetted, which made the bark hard to see, all one color in other words. Environment. Heavy brush, thick woods on one side of road, flat blacktop forest road, trees, tall timber, steep slope or hill with gorge-like gully running down on the right on the other side of this road. Follow-up investigation report by BFRO investigator Eric Lester. I spoke to the witness over an hour about his experience. He was initially reluctant to submit a report, but did so after family members urged him to do it. He recalled his experience vividly, and was able to recount details like it happened yesterday. The creature came out of a thick undergrowth area of the forest, and crossed the 2-lane road in about 3 to 4 steps, much faster than the witness could. Physical attributes of the creature that really stuck in his mind were the long arms, hands, the uniform brown color, little or no neck, and the thick, wrestler-like build. When he saw this creature, he was in denial that it could be a Sasquatch, and has tried over the years to justify it being a human. He hasn't come to that conclusion, but has recently accepted that what he saw that day was probably a Sasquatch.